I need to shave.
Brent's got to shave.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Players Club. I'm your host, Levi Valentine, at Levi_Valentine on Twitter. Joining me are my co-hosts, Brent Hikes. Follow him at Brent Hikes, Heikes on Twitter, and Trevin Cremosta, whose tweets are too hot for your eyes. We still rolling with that, Trevin?
Yeah, nice introduction, Levi Babyface Valentine.
Had to shave today. Had a big day.
Yeah?
Try to not look like a total bum at work sometimes, unlike you, apparently.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, we look good.
You guys look like you haven't shaved in 2 weeks.
It has been a while.
It's the in style now. Read a fashion magazine, why don't you?
Maybe if you guys shave, they let you into the Scott Fishbowl.
Ouch.
Yeah. Good segue.
Trevin,
what's your first topic, Levi?
Do you even have any idea what the Scott Fishbowl is, Trevin?
That was going to be I know you've kind of explained it to me before on the show. I know they do a lot of donations to very good causes, but I don't really understand how it works. So if you could, I know it's a big deal that you got invited. I'm very happy for you, but I do not really understand what it is.
Well, let me explain it for you and maybe some of our listeners who don't know. So it's a huge Pro-Am fantasy football tournament. Last year, there were 1,440 teams in this thing, and there were over 10,000 people who registered for it. This year, he hasn't announced how many teams yet, but it'll probably be at least as big as last year, if not bigger. And so far, there are almost 9,000 people who've signed up, which it doesn't draft until July, so probably be a lot more by then. And somehow, I lucked my way into it. I think I probably owe Brent a thank you for nominating me on a question on Twitter a while back, so thank you, Brent.
No problem. You deserve it. You do. I'll give you that.
But Trevin, the way it works is there's every one of those is broken down into a league of 12 teams, and then teams who win a certain amount of games or finish in a certain point in the standings or win their league make it to the final playoff. And so like the weeks 13, 14, 15, and 16. So 48 teams out of each conference make the playoffs. And it's the team with the best record and then the team with the most points in each division, which get a bye. And then the 32 wild card teams play in week 13, and these teams will be the top 16 records in the conference. And those 32 teams play. It's not head-to-head, so the 10 highest scorers advance, and then the next week, you have the 10 teams that advance from week 13 against the 16 teams that received a bye, and the 10 highest scorers advance. And then the next one, it's the 10 highest teams that advance from week 14. Square off, and the top point scorer will be awarded as the conference winner, and then each of the conference winners play the last week to see who wins the tournament. So it's pretty crazy how many teams are in this thing.
No, that's cool. And then now do you play for prize money for yourself and for the charities, or how does it work?
No, there's no prize money. It's just for bragging rights. And the whole point of the thing is Scott Fish, the creator, wants to raise as much money as possible for charity through this event and all the events surrounding it. Like they sell T-shirts. They have the Podathon, which we sponsored last year, and just different things like that. And he actually has an organization called Fantasy Cares, where if you want to contribute to that as your donation for being in it, or just out of the goodness of your heart from the fantasy community, you can. And then he takes all that money and goes and buys toys and gives some to other fantasy analysts from other different areas of the country to go buy toys, and they donate all the toys to Toys for Tots. So that's kind of his charity that he's chosen for all the money that Fantasy Cares brings in. But really, I think the idea is just to raise as much money for all charities. But if you want to donate to that one, I think they encourage since it's a free to play, no prize money, and then the idea is just if you do play or if you're involved or interested, just to raise as much money for charity as possible. So it's a great event. He puts in a ton of work, and obviously with 1,400 teams. So I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to drafting in July. And hopefully you guys get in. Brent, I know you signed up. Trevin, have you signed up yet?
No.
Get to it.
If you want to enter, and he does select fans too, so you don't have to have your own podcast or show or anything to do it. You can just go to scottfishbowl.com and apply for entry, and if you get selected, you'll get to participate.
Oh, that's cool. Happy for you. I know it's something you've looked forward to, so glad you get to be doing it.
Yeah, and so it's my team, and I can't give it away or anything like that as part of the rules, but Brent, if you want to be involved and talk through draft picks or something, or Trevin, if you want to be involved.
Yeah, what the hell?
Draft picks.
You only take advice from Brent?
Yeah. I didn't know how much you cared about it, but yeah, if you guys want to kind of talk through stuff with me during the draft, if you don't get teams, be happy to let you kind of be involved with mine, and I'll blame you if everything goes poorly, which it probably will.
My first piece of advice: Devin Singletary, get him early.
All right, Brent, I no longer want you involved in this.
You're out.
Trevin, welcome.
Yeah, I'm in, baby. Kadarius
Right.
Tony.
You're out too.
Oh shit, we both blew
I'm
it.
on my own. Someone else who wants out is Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to talk about that in the main event. So let's hop in. For tonight's main event, we have 2 rounds. First, we're going to talk a little about Aaron Rodgers, like I mentioned, and then we're also going to give a little NFL draft reaction now that we've had a week to digest everything after our live stream last Thursday, which thank you to everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, we probably should have said that off the top. That was a lot of fun, and thank you for all the guests that got on, and thank you for everybody that watched, because I had a ton of fun, and I can't believe it was 4 hours. It seemed to go a lot quicker than that. It was a good time.
That's what I was gonna say too. It didn't feel like 4 hours. That flew by. That was a lot of fun. I'm already looking forward to doing it again next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you everybody for sure. Aaron Rodgers would be pretty thankful to get traded out of Green Bay, guys. The Packers say they're not trading him. He tells them he's not interested in returning to the team. Some of the news that came out this week was pretty wild. Apparently he was telling free agents he wouldn't probably be there this season. So any free agents they were trying to sign, he was reaching out to them and telling them that. There was the whole Jake Kumaro thing where apparently he made a comment that he really liked Jake Kumaro and they cut him the next day. So he was pissed about that from a while back. And apparently he's texting people calling Brian Gutekunst the Jerry Krause of the Packers for destroying what they have. So, guys, it doesn't seem like it could get much worse, but what do you think about this situation and the potential fantasy impact for Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Jones? I mean, all the Packers players be impacted by this.
Let's just start with what we think is going to happen with Aaron Rodgers first, because I was getting the read on it you wouldn't come with this news the day of the draft if you actually wanted to get traded, was my perspective, because there's just no way for the Packers and other teams to actually come together with an offer, I don't think, the day of the draft, because any trade would probably involve the first-round pick, at least, of the team you're trading it to. So my thoughts at that time were Aaron Rodgers just trying to use his influence to have the Packers select who he wants to select, because I don't think the timeline wouldn't add up to actually getting traded. But this stuff that's coming out this week, it sounds like he really does want out. So I don't know why he played that so bad. I don't know why he wouldn't do that the month before the draft and probably have a better chance of getting traded if that's what he wanted, because this seems like not a good relationship to come back to. I don't know what's going to happen at this point, but I would still bet Rodgers comes back. I think the Packers have most of the leverage still, and they can say, "We'll go host Jeopardy if that's what you're going to do," because we're not going to trade you. Because I don't know why they would trade him, I guess.
It sounded like, though. Well, here's maybe a theory on potentially your question.
Yeah, I just want to hear theories right now from what we think.
So maybe he told them at the beginning of the offseason or earlier that he was not coming back and they needed to trade him, and they never did it. So this was like his Hail Mary right before the draft to just put everything out there and force their hand. And it sounded like they got pretty close to trading him to the Broncos. I mean, the deal didn't get done, but I think that there was probably a little fire there to go along with all that smoke. So maybe. But
this was the rollout he had was very organized for who was getting scoops of what. This wasn't just I'm so pissed the day of the draft, I'm just going to let somebody talk about it. They knew exactly what they're doing, and I don't understand why you don't just do that exact same strategy the month before if you want to get traded.
Yeah. Who knows? But I think that's one possibility, and it almost did work. And I think my prediction is he will not play in Green Bay this season. At this point, I just don't see how they reconcile. So I think he'll probably get traded to somebody at
Do you
where
think
I
they
have
will
no
trade
idea.
him?
I think so. He just seems adamant that he will not play. And so what option do they really have at this point?
Because what he owes, if he didn't play, I think he owes the Packers $20 million, right?
If he retired, right?
Yeah. And
20
I mean,
or
if
30,
he doesn't,
yeah, that's something
if he
crazy.
doesn't retire though, he's going to get fined every day for not showing up to different team training things. So I think the Packers still have most of the leverage here, and I don't know why they would trade him. I mean, I'm sure you want to get some assets back, but if he doesn't, you get all that money back, and you got the guy that you should have ready to be, Jordan Love. It's probably the reason this all started getting so bad. So from the Packers side, I don't know why you'd agree to it, I guess.
Well, I mean, you're getting assets in return versus just cash or
Nothing.
Like, the cash is nice, but it doesn't help you on win football games. At least if you trade him, you get some assets that will.
Sure, but I don't know. I wouldn't trade him.
I'm kind of with Levi on this. I think he's played his last game at Green Bay. Kind of stinks, but I think he's done with Green Bay. Whether he retires or plays at a different team.
So you both think that he's going to get traded. He'll be playing with a different team this next season.
Or he retires. So I wouldn't be surprised either way. I just don't think he's going to play another down for the Packers. And when I heard about this last week, I was like, I didn't think much of it. I just thought, kind of like you, Trevin, like they're trying to get a good draft pick, get like a stud wide receiver or something. But now after this week, after the whole week, I just don't think he can come back to it. And I did hear something on the radio the other day. If something is going to happen, it'll probably be on or shortly after June 1st because of some money reasons or something. I'm not smart enough to understand, but it saves Green Bay a lot of money and it saves the team that they're trading him to a lot of money. So if something happens like that, I think it'll happen after June 1st.
Yep, they would save $16 million in salary cap space if they trade him or release him after June 1st. A move now would actually cost them a little more than $1 million in space. A move made before June 1st would accelerate his remaining signing bonus pro-ration to the 2021 cap. A move after would divide it up over the last 3 years of this deal. And just to clarify my position, I think he gets traded. I don't think he retires because I think a retire would be a lose-lose scenario. Like the Packers would get the money back, but they lose any chance to get any sort of return, and obviously that's a significant sum of money that Rodgers would have to pay back personally for him. So I think that's the least likely of the three scenarios, honestly. But I don't think he plays again for the Packers.
I don't think he's going to get traded this year. If he's not playing for the Packers, I don't think they've moved him to anywhere else.
So it seems like the Broncos, if he does get traded, the Broncos are the favorite to possibly.
We got to talk about the Raiders here, because if that does happen, I'm gonna have to buy some new zippers for my pants because it's gonna be a good time in my house.
But would you agree that the Broncos are probably a favorite? Then maybe the Raiders are number two.
Sounds like I agree.
Just by hearing the
Broncos
rumors and stuff like that,
and they definitely have a better roster for him to slip into. But it does sound like he probably wants to get closer to California, so that would be kind of the Raiders have some weapons. They definitely don't have as much as the Broncos, but they're more about the location, I think, if he's trying to get more west.
Yeah. So Trevin, with that said, go ahead, Levi.
Go ahead.
With that said, for the people that are drafting, like new dynasty startups or even rookie drafts, what do you do with guys like Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Robert Tonyan, Amari Rodgers, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Javonte Williams, and maybe the Raiders receivers? I can't even think of a Raiders receiver.
Oh, come on. Now you're just being hurtful.
So before we get into that, Trevin, can I ask you what makes you lean more towards he doesn't get traded?
I just the same point I had before. I just don't really see a benefit for the Packers. I know they'd get some assets back, But he's the last season's MVP. I don't think you can let a team have that, even for the assets.
But
So
if
I
it's
think he
that
calls
or
bluff
nothing-
because I don't think it's going to be nothing though. I think he calls bluff. I don't think there's any way Rodgers goes, okay, I'll give back $30 million to not play.
I don't know.
He wasn't a happy guy last year, I don't think. He's been pissed for a while, and he was an MVP. So what are the Packers going, oh, no, we better trade him. We'd hate for him to be upset again and get another MVP and go to the NFC Championship game.
But if it's that or get a couple of first-round picks and move on.
You can't. I don't think you can trade away the
anyway.
MVP. What are you going to watch him win another MVP at Denver? I don't think it's while your team's shit because you got Jordan Love starting for the first time. Like that's quite a rebuilding phase you're going straight into because you wanted a first round pick instead of keeping the MVP.
It's a different situation, obviously, but I think the closest thing was when the Colts let Peyton Manning walk. I know they had Andrew Luck there, which
they had maybe the best prospect ever, and it wasn't for sure Peyton was going to play again with his neck injuries.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, it's not crazy. Like,
and that was free agency.
Kind of
they didn't choose to trade him; they just choose not to re-sign him.
Right, but it's the same thing in effect.
But the big thing from that is Peyton Manning was coming off a horrible neck injury, and Aaron Rodgers coming off the MVP season.
And they had Luck and not Jordan Love.
Yeah.
I agree. Like I said, it's not a perfect comparison, but I'm just saying there is precedent there for you're letting one of the best quarterbacks in the game, even though he is coming off an injury, walk out the door. And that was getting nothing for him. At least in this case, you get some sort of...
Yeah, but if they would have kept him, then you're signing... Then you have your money still with Peyton Manning, and you have the best prospect since Peyton Manning walking in your door.
Right.
So then you get a lot of assets going towards these two really good quarterbacks. I think it's totally different situations here.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
But just for on the Brent's points, go on. We're on the same page.
As far as the Packers players, for me, I'm moving them all down a little bit because, like I said, I don't expect Rodgers to be there. And even if he is, I think there's enough uncertainty right now that if you're buying one of these players, you kind of have to price that in. Like if you're trading forward Devontae Adams for Aaron Jones, because there is more risk. It's not a huge deal. Like I think Devontae Adams is still a top 5 receiver in Dynasty, but I don't think he's the clear number 1 overall. Like maybe he was a couple months ago before all of this got as bad as it is now. So that's kind of how I'm viewing it. As far as other teams, I'm not really speculating on Broncos players or any other team for that matter at this point, as far as their value, just because who knows where he ends up. And you wouldn't
want to stay ahead and like maybe bump up Judy a little bit, maybe bump up Sutton or Fant.
Ruggs maybe.
I personally wouldn't, just because I think it's a lot of speculation, but it's not the worst thought, I guess, if that's something you're inclined to do.
See, I guess I'm more on so I'm more on that he will be staying in the Packers. So I'm not downgrading the Packers weapons at all, but I would maybe see how available a Broncos player is right now, but I think who's ever holding those players is probably also excited that maybe Rodgers will be coming, so I doubt you can get him for anything that's a good value.
True.
Brent, any additional thoughts?
No, but I mean, other than I probably would slightly bump those Broncos players just to take a chance. If you like Jerry Jeudy already and you think he'll have a good year with Locke or Bridgewater, maybe you can bump him up a few more spots because he's gonna look even better with Aaron Rodgers. Same with Fant. I think Fant would be the guy that would benefit the most out of the 3 guys at Denver.
If it does happen, their stocks are going to soar, and there's no way you couldn't pay enough to get them at that point. So if you did want to take a chance, that was the time.
So what about Rodgers himself? How are you guys viewing him?
I'm a little worried.
Yeah, the big worry would be if he actually doesn't play this year. I'm not too concerned if he's at Packers or at somewhere else. He's going to be a very good quarterback, but I think there's a real risk that he's just not playing, and you'd be sitting on that quarterback for your starter.
So we have a draft coming up this weekend, an auction draft. how are you guys looking at him going into that? Are you just avoiding him completely, or would you buy at a certain price? Like, if you were ranking him and looking at your rankings, how are you approaching him, and where do you have him?
I see what you're trying to do, and I'm not going to tell you a secret word.
Honestly, I'd probably just avoid him completely. I'm pulling up the rankings right now to see where he's at.
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario, if all this drama wasn't going on, if you're getting Rodgers, you're hoping to win the next 2 years because he is 38, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So put in the risk of maybe he doesn't play, and you're looking at somebody that's a little more risky. It's not a long-term deal, I don't think. I mean, Jesus, Tom Brady's playing until he's 45, so who knows? Maybe he got another 7 years with him.
Yeah, Rodgers 37. He turns 38 in December. So, yeah, I took him in a startup earlier this offseason. And I don't feel great about it right now, but honestly, I think he'll play somewhere this season, whether it is Green Bay or somewhere else. I would be shocked if he actually retired or did not play, but we'll see. It's hard not to bump him down a little bit, but I think it's one of those where it's a risk reward, and the reward is pretty significant with him potentially if he has another year like he did last year. And I think if he goes elsewhere, especially, he'll be extremely motivated to make the Packers look like idiots. I'll put it that way.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the funniest outcome would be if Jeopardy asked Jordan Love to do a guest hosting job for the next week.
What a dumb way to lose your potential MVP, though. Just drafting a quarterback in the first round without telling him you're going to do it last year. It seems like that's really the thing that pushed him over the edge.
Well, it's that and the Dillon one. It's just two guys that it's not like they weren't helping very much. They just didn't help at all. They were both third string on the depth chart. Just two absolute duds when you could have got any type of weapon. It sounds like that would have made him a little happier. I think he's a pretty prickly guy as is. So I don't know how happy he ever actually is, but it seems like it would have helped.
Couldn't hurt, that's for sure. But we saw it this year with Trask. Apparently the Buccaneers gave Brady a courtesy heads up. Hey, we're going to probably take a quarterback. And I heard the Vikings even did it with Kirk Cousins taking Kellen Mond.
Oh, God. Kirk round. Cousins gets a call on Rodgers, doesn't?
Insane, right?
Boy.
Wow.
I saw a tweet today or earlier today. It was interesting. Brady or Rodgers has been in the league for 16, 17 years.
Yep.
During that time, he's got the same amount of first round wide receivers in Tom Brady's first 17 years, which is 0. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, because each one of those Packers quarterbacks played for 17 years is the big stat going around. Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. But I just find that interesting where people are complaining that Rodgers can't get help like at the receiver position in the first round, but Tom Brady's never had it. I mean, yes, he got Randy Moss in free agency, which is huge, but he also made Julian Edelman looked pretty good. Wes Welker looked pretty good, and a few other guys like that. But so is Rodgers. But I just find that interesting.
He also had maybe the best tight end of all time, catching passes.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Yep. Anything else? Oh, are you buying Jordan Love?
I don't know. He's a weird one for me. It just seems like there's better prospects coming into the league every year. I don't know how you'd be too excited if for getting Jordan Love. I mean, there's 5 guys came in this year that were top of the draft. I know they're all not going to work out, but each one of those is more exciting than Jordan Love, I think, and then probably be about the same again next year.
Yeah, I mean, his stock bumps up a little bit. Not very much for me though. So
it definitely bumps up just for volume. He could be the starter at the Packers with some pretty good weapons, but it's not something I'd be looking for, I guess. If I was an owner, I guess I'm excited.
Yeah, I've never been a big Jordan Love believer, so I can't see him ending up on any of my teams, and I'm not going out of my way to buy him, certainly at this point, even in Superflex. Oops. All right, should we move on to a little rookie reaction, guys?
Yeah.
All right. So we obviously had our big rookie show last week for the draft. The first 32 picks, we did the live stream. And again, thank you to everybody who participated and watched that. But we want to talk a little bit more now that we've had a week to digest everything, guys. So we had a couple of questions here. The first thing we're going to talk about is whose value changed most for you after the draft?
Yeah, I'll go first. I love Bateman coming in, and I still love him as a prospect, but it's just I'm not really worried that he's not going to be good. The Ravens don't have a lot of volume passing going on, so I don't know what his real ceiling is for targets a game right now. So I was a little disappointed on where he ended up going. Like I said, still love him as a prospect, but the situation worries me right now. I think they'll probably figure out a way to throw some more going forward just to keep Jackson from running till he's 30, but I wasn't thrilled with where he got selected.
Yeah, I just don't see him getting more targets than Mark Andrews and maybe even Marquise Brown. So I'm kind of with you there, Trevin.
Brent, what about you? Who changed value for you?
There's a lot of them.
Is Jamar Chase your wide receiver 1 now, Brent?
Oh yeah, you gave us a hell no last time we asked this question.
I did, didn't I? I did.
Yeah, you did.
But I
very strong about it.
I did not say that I hated Chase though. I really like Jamar Chase. I do, but with the Bengals drafting Chase, and I mean,
but it kind of looked like that.
I love Joe Burrow.
Was going to go anyway.
I thought they might go offensive tackle, but I knew there was that chance. But I love Joe Burrow, and I'm not a big fan of the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. But I don't know. I still like Devontae Smith quite a bit, but Jamar Chase is my number 1 for now. But he's not my what do we call him this? The riser?
Big movers, risers
big
and
movers.
Yeah.
I took this question. I mean, I thought of rookies, but can I say like a current NFL running back, or
sure.
Does it have to be a rookie?
If you want to cheat, but yeah,
that's not cheating. I wrote down a lot of people, but my favorite one of all is this is going to piss Trevin off. Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh my God!
I'm back on the Clyde Edwards-Helaire train, man.
If you have Clyde, trade him now.
So, obviously, they helped out their offensive line quite a bit, and every single offensive lineman they got, their biggest strength is run blocking, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to love
for
this.
Whoever the next running back is.
You'd think if they didn't like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they would have drafted one. I mean, they got Jerick McKinnon. Whoop-de-doo. That's it. McKinnon will get.
Who'd they try to get this offseason that went to the Buccaneers? I'm blanking.
That was Fournette?
Anyway. No, go on.
Oh, Gio?
Yeah, they tried to get Gio.
I didn't know that. But yeah, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They got some stud run blockers. They got the Patriots offensive lineman from free agency. He's one of the best run blockers in the league. They got the center in the second round from Oklahoma, who's an absolute stud run blocker. A few other guys in free agency and another guy in the draft, and they loaded up on the offensive line. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Do you want to hear a list of maybe I'll let Levi go. And then I'll list.
Finish your list, Brent.
Okay. I'm not going to talk much about them, but I'm going to list them off.
You're on a roll. Yeah,
right.
Go for it.
Mike Davis. I mean, the Falcons.
Yeah, I agree.
Mike Davis, and even to a lesser extent, Cordarrelle Patterson. He might get some snaps too. Some other guys, Chase Edmonds and James Conner. I mean,
I was surprised they didn't get anybody else. Yeah,
I was surprised by that too. And how about this one? Devin Singletary and Zach Moss.
How about it?
They don't have any more competition, so it's going to be those two guys again next year.
Boy, fantasy owners everywhere are rejoicing.
Yep. This one, it's a 3-headed backfield right now. I think it'll cut down to 2. I don't know who it's going to be, but David Johnson, Philip Lindsay, and Mark Ingram. I think Lindsey's going to come out of that pack and get the most fantasy points for the Texans this year. And how about Austin Eckler? I mean, it's his backfield again, and who knows whose backup's going to be. Another one,
Yeah,
Malcolm.
as an Austin Eckler fan, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
huge.
as an owner, I meant to say, yeah.
And you tried trading him to me last year. I should have done that.
Yeah, I know.
Another one is Malcolm Brown and Myles Gaskin. I was shocked that the Dolphins did not get a running back in that draft. And Chris Carson, and I can't believe we're still talking about him, but we have to. Rashad Penny. All those guys are winners of the draft. All running backs. I mean, they're all winners of the draft in my eyes. Any disagreements there?
No, I think there are still some free agent running backs out there. So some of these are going to be filled by some guys. I mean, just to name off some names, I'm not saying these are studs, but they're going to take some carries from somebody. Todd Gurley, Duke Johnson, Rex Burkhead, Kerryon Johnson, TJ Yeldon, Deion Lewis, Chris Thompson. These guys are all available, so some of them will be signed.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's not going to end up that way. Adrian Peterson, maybe Frank Gore. Those guys could take away.
Lead a team in rushing for I think it's 16 years in a row or something at this point. It's one of my favorite stats. He's led his team in rushing for the last 60, however many years he's been in the league.
He could go back to Miami. Frank Gore finishing the year at Miami, or finishing his career at Miami.
That's enough Frank Gore talk.
He's got to play with his son, Levi.
Brant, you mentioned Rashad Penny. I think it is worth noting that the Seahawks recently did decline to pick up his fifth-year option. So,
okay,
this will be his last year in Seattle, most likely, and I think that it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward.
You mean this upcoming year will be his last year,
right?
Okay,
this will be the fourth year. Yeah,
so.
They did not pick up their fifth.
Yep. So, but yeah, I think those are all good picks. I had a couple. Trey Sermon was a big winner for me here. Going to San Francisco in the third round, a pretty good draft capital, better than I expected. And obviously that backfield's kind of a mess with all the options they have there. Especially they also drafted Elijah Mitchell later on in the draft, and they still have Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and then currently also on the roster is Wayne Gallman, JaMychal Hasty, Kyle Juszczyk, of course. So I don't know whether Trey Sermon's going to be the lead back. It'll probably be like they rotate him in and out every year, it seems like there, but kind of a committee. But I think he's going right now as the number 4 rookie running back, and I think that's probably where he should go. In this ADP we got provided to us by Duchesne's. Thanks for putting it together, Duchesne's. He has 7 drafts on here, and on average, Sermon's going with the 5th pick in the second round, so that'd be 17th overall. So that's a lot better than I expected for Trey Sermon, honestly, coming into the draft. So I thought he was a winner.
Yep, go ahead. Nope, I was going on my next loser. So if you got another one, go ahead.
I just have 2 losers that I'll throw out there, and then I'll turn it over to you for yours, Trevin. So my big ones were Brevin Jordan. I think he was kind of the consensus top 3 tight end along with Freiermuth and Pitts going into the draft. He falls all the way down the draft boards, ends up getting drafted in the 5th round by Houston, who we have no idea if Deshaun Watson's going to play this year, and that tight end room is kind of a mess with him. And they also have Jordan Akins, Kahale Warring, just kind of a mess of a tight end room there. So I was really disappointed by that. I thought he was going to potentially be a pretty good player coming into the league, and he didn't get the draft capital to support that. And another one that we discussed, I think was one of my picks before the draft when we did this, was Tamorrion Terry, who ended up going undrafted and was signed a undrafted free agent deal with the Seahawks. So I think that's about as good of a landing spot probably as you can hope for him, with Tyler Lockett and then kind of an open spot there on the 3rd place on the depth chart behind DK Metcalf. They also drafted Dwayne Eskridge there, and then they still have Freddie Swain, John Ursua, Penny Hart. But so depending on what you think about Eskridge, which I'm not a huge believer, They took him in the second round, which is crazy to me. But I think that was pretty disappointing for me to see Terry not even get drafted. And I think probably the way his career ended at Florida State had something to do with that. But I thought he would get drafted, to say the least, and I was disappointed by that. So I don't even think he's draftable in fantasy leagues now going into the season. I think he's one of those you pick up after the draft as a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another winner I had was Javonte Williams. I really liked him going to the Broncos, who traded up to get him. I don't think they are big fans of Melvin Gordon, and honestly, he might be my number one running back for Dynasty right now, because I know the Steelers got Najee Harris, but that line is bad. They run everything out of shotgun because Big Ben can barely move anymore. And I don't know about ETN there at the Jags, so that I think he's my number one running back right now for rookies.
Wow.
But that goes.
That's a little spicy.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
If you think so, I don't think it is, but if you call it spicy,
I think it's anti-consensus. That's for sure. I think he's consensus number 3, so it's a little spicy.
yeah, let's call it the spicy beer take of the week.
Kincaid Brewing.
Kincaid Brewing. Yep. My next one was, I don't know what the Jags are doing. I thought it was pretty funny. Last year they showed they can get an undrafted rookie running back, be priced very low, and be very productive. He finished very well, finished top 5 all running backs, I think, for points per reception leagues. And now they spend a first round pick on a running back immediately after. So they didn't learn anything from the great success they had last year. And it's tough for undrafted free agents, even the ones that do well, like Robinson. But if you're a James Robinson owner, you really got to be upset. He had 1 year of greatness, and it doesn't look like he's going to get another chance at the Jags.
If you're a James Robinson owner, you just got to be thankful that you got 1 year of running back 1 production from a player you paid nothing for. That's what
I know, but
you can't complain.
I mean, yeah, but it just sucks. Like, he showed how good he can be, and he's never going to get the chance again at the Jaguars. They'd rather show off their first round pick than show the undrafted guy from the prior administration there.
Yeah, I think at best it's a timeshare, and I have no doubt that James Robinson owners are a little hot about it, but I'm just saying you're getting a little greedy when you.
Yeah, it's not like anybody was like, James Robinson's my guy, and then it worked out for him. They're just lucky to have James Robinson on the roster.
Right.
But what do you think about the Jags not learning from what they did? Don't you think that's a little wild? They spent a first round pick on a running back.
It's certainly not what I would have done, but I think that's kind of to me, it's just reflective of Urban Meyer, a new coach coming in from college and not fully understanding, I guess, player evaluation in the NFL and the value of running backs, at least as we see it for the most part as fans, is not nearly as significant to your success in the NFL as some of the other positions that they could have spent their first round pick on. So I like Travis Etienne. I think he's a really good player, but I don't think it was a smart move from a general manager perspective.
Yeah, it was shocking to see him getting picked in the first round. I thought they would get a guy maybe in the second or third, a running back in the second or third, because I talked about it last week. I thought James Robinson, I thought the Jacksonville Jaguars needed another running back. Even though Robinson looked great last year, I thought they needed another running back, and still shocked they got one in the first round though. So, but I totally agree. It's James Robinson owners. I bet they're pretty pissed right now. And I want to add something to Levi's take on Trey Sermon and basically a 49er backfield. What Wayne Gallman did at New York Giants last year to close the year, he was pretty special. I mean, to close the year, you got to give him some credit. And he's not going to – Wayne Gallman is a good running back. He's a good NFL running back. He was a really good college running back. And he's not gonna let Sermon take that job. I mean, obviously Mostert probably doesn't want to let him take that job either. And what's really funny, one of my sleepers was that Louisiana running back,
Elijah Mitchell.
Yes, one of my deep sleepers was Mitchell. So, and I do like Sermon too. So that backfield is an absolute mess right now with with all 4 of those guys, 5 of those guys when you include Wilson.
Yeah, somebody's probably getting cut, at least one, if not 2 of those guys, and I don't know which one it's going to be, but that camp competition is going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out.
So you guys know that I can't tell if I'm doing a bit anymore or not, that I've been kind of all in on Tony, but I didn't see him getting drafted this high. I don't really have any defense. I don't really have any defense for that.
All the mocks had him here. That's why everybody hated it.
Yeah. I guess see it in real life. It was funny when, like, he's been the 4th or kind of the groupings we've done, so it's been fun to pick him throughout our off season on talking about guys. But going as the 4th overall receiver, number 20 overall in the draft, it's a little much for even the biggest Tony fans like me.
Yeah, it's insane. So, Trevin, where is Tony for you and your rookie drafts right now? Like, what's the highest you'd be taking him? He's going 207 right now, behind obviously Jamar Chase, and then you have Devontae Smith, Jaylen Waddle, Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, and Terrace Marshall, right ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm
looking at the same list you're looking at, and I'm a bigger Tony fan than I should be. It's funny to kind of go against the grain on that one, but I do like what he did last year, where they moved him a wide receiver. He's shown that he can be kind of the running back, receiver, slot guy, and very explosive. But I'd have a hard time drafting him any higher than 207.
Which is pretty much where he's going right now.
Yeah. I'm looking at the list here. That seems right for me as the biggest Tony fan in the world.
Well, you have about that pick in one of our good leagues, so I expect you to take him if he's there later this offseason.
No, but the Giants were kind of funny there. They finally talked their GM Gettleman and trading down, and he traded down, and Devontae went above where he thought he was going to go, and then he got stuck with Tony. So that's what he gets, I guess.
Another thing that makes me question Urban Meyer and the regime in Jacksonville's intelligence. Did you see what he said about Tony? He was the one who was most disappointed that he got drafted because he was going to take him with his next pick.
I saw that.
Yeah. I also saw what he said about ETN, that it's going to be a great 3rd down back. Everybody's like, you took him in the 1st round. What are you talking about? I'm out on the Urban Meyer era. I don't think it's going to work. I've said that before on this show.
I'm out on Urban Meyer's player assessments, that's for sure. Evaluations.
Yeah. I just think he's one of these guys that was a great college coach because he's able to get these younger guys and have everybody buy into the system, but I don't think it's going to work for adults.
Yeah.
Only thing he's got going for him right now is Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it during the draft, but it was kind of interesting to see. So you have Lawrence and ETN, the college teammates, going to Jacksonville, and then you have the teammates reunited in both Miami with Waddle and Tua, and then in Philly with Hurts and Devontae Smith. And Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in Cincinnati. Yep. So new trend, new hotness in the NFL, boys.
Yep.
Get everybody's friends together.
Next year, the Patriots will get Michi from Alabama, and he'll be teamed up with Mac Jones.
Perfect. Should we move on to our second question?
Yeah.
Which player in the 1st or 2nd round of Superflex rookie ADP do you differ from consensus most on, Brent?
This was kind of tough for me because it's not much of a difference, but I see Kyle Pitts is going 1.4 right now. I'm pretty sure I would take Jamar Chase ahead of him, Najee Harris ahead of him, Travis Etienne, Devontae Smith, and maybe I can talk myself into picking Mac Jones, Javonte Williams, and Jaylen Waddle ahead of Kyle Pitts. I like Kyle Pitts. He was great in college, and he'll probably be pretty good in the NFL. I do like him, but with Calvin Ridley there, right now, Julio is there. He's got to prove it to me first. So I don't expect to own Pitts in very many of my dynasty leagues coming up. So I'll just let everybody else draft him, and they can deal with him.
I'm right there with you, Brent. I don't have as many guys ahead of him as you did, but the earliest I can see myself taking him is probably 9.
Okay.
But 4, it's way too high for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of talked about it before, but I really didn't even like his. I like him worse now after his landing spot, and that's Waddle. We talked about how I wasn't a big fan of his injuries. They kind of scared me off as far as how high he was being taken. And now he goes to the Dolphins, where he's going to be fighting for time a little bit. I'm sure they're going to give him as many looks as they want to, but they've got Parker there. They signed Fuller this offseason, still have Preston Williams there. And also, Tua just hasn't been a good NFL quarterback so far. I know he's got injuries. He can change that, but he wasn't good last year. So I'm not excited about Waddle. And on this chart, you've got Forrest here. He's going at 111. And honestly, he'd be right at the Tony area for me. So 206, 207. I don't like Waddle.
That's a big drop.
You're a hater, for sure.
And now I'm not a hater. I'm worried about the injuries, and I really don't like his landing spot. Like I said, he's got competition for playing time, and his quarterback hasn't been a good NFL quarterback so far.
So, Trevin, you would take Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, and Terrace Marshall ahead of Jaylen Waddle?
Yes.
Wow.
I wouldn't take it's got Freiermuth here. I wouldn't take him, Freiermuth before him, but yeah, that's who I'd take. All those receivers before I take Waddle.
Coming with the spicy takes tonight. Damn.
Yeah, you are.
I got some good backup information. I'm not just throwing stuff out for crazy. I think I'm getting some good.
I think Waddle has a pretty solid role in that offense, though. I think Parker, Fuller, and Waddle are pretty clearly the 3 stars to me, and I think he's going to be on the field a lot, and he has a built-in connection with Tua going back to their college days. I think Preston Williams is probably the odd man out here.
Sure, but you're still saying he's sharing time with 3 receivers, and he's got a quarterback who I'm still a fan of Tua, but he hasn't been good so far. So just those facts alone, he's not slotting in as the main target right away compared to where these other guys are. With Devontae Smith, he's just not in this Chase Smith. Rondale Moore is not going to be number 1, but he's going to be getting a lot of looks at Arizona.
Well, I mean, Chase, I think, is going to be very good, and he's clearly my wide receiver 1, but he's going in with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd there as well, so it's not like he's the only guy. Devontae Smith, I think, is pretty clearly the number 1 in Philly, but, I mean, I think that Waddle is going to have a decent-sized role in this offense, and I think Parker is a free agent maybe after this year.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I think wheels up in 2022, and I think he'll have a decent rookie season.
And don't forget about their tight end too, Mike Gesicki. So he'll still get his touches.
Yeah. Anybody else you're down on, Trevin?
No, I'm not trying to be a hater on Waddle. I'm not. I like him if he was healthy, but his injuries and his situation, I'm just not a huge fantasy fan of him right now.
One injury, to be fair.
Yeah. I didn't mean to make it sound like he's had a lot of injuries, but it is a serious injury that scares me on him.
Did you guys see his video when he got drafted?
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
That did move him up my draft board a little bit.
It doesn't ease your concerns at all, Trevin, related to that injury, that an NFL team was willing to take him this highly. I mean, he went, what was it, number 6 overall, and they had that medical combine, so I'm guessing that the results from that came back pretty favorably if they're spending a top 6 pick on him.
Not to me. It's scary for me. He's a guy that's built on this explosive. He had broke his ankle, and I think it went into his foot too. So,
all right,
to me, that worries me. And he's a guy that never broke out. We've talked about Waddle. We're talking about him too much again, but he never had a breakout season, and now he's had these injuries, and he's an explosive guy. I would love him if he didn't get injured and didn't go to the Dolphins.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
How early are you taking him, Brett?
His ADP is sitting at, let's see,
110 here. Or no, sorry, 111. 111. Third receiver behind Chase and Smith.
He is my third receiver. Pretty easy. I would probably take. I don't know. I said that I would take him probably over Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's right there. So, I mean, I'd probably get him like at 110, 109, but I mean, it's not that big of a jump for me. I think at 111, he's sitting pretty good. So, I mean, if I get Waddle at 111, I'd probably be pretty happy.
You the same there, Levi?
I have Rondale Moore ahead of him personally. but I have him right in that same range.
The short Arizona Short Kings.
Yep. All right, the one I don't know how big of a difference it is. Brent, you kind of took the one that's probably the biggest difference for me with Kyle Pitts, but the other one I'm just never going to have is Zach Wilson. So he's going 7th overall as quarterback number 4. I would take Mac Jones over him, and they're going just a few picks apart. Mac Jones is, I guess, down at 12. So
You'd take Mac Jones over him.
I would take Mac Jones over him. And
wow.
So here's what it comes down to for me, and we talked about this a little previously, but Mac Jones has one really good year. Zach Wilson has one really good year. Zach Wilson did against a really poor schedule and had a track record, although there were some injuries, nagging injuries, of not being that great prior to this season when he played more legitimate schedules and better competition. Mac Jones had a great season against SEC competition. And so I view them both more as pocket guys, and I think I'd roll the dice on Mac before I take a shot on Zach Wilson. And I know he has some decent weapons in New York with Corey Davis, with
Mims,
and with Elijah Moore,
Crowder.
Crowder may be a cap casualty, but
yeah,
we'll see. So he is in a little bit better situation from that perspective than Mac Jones is in New England, where he's got Aguilar, Bourne, Jacoby Myers, and N'Keal Harry. But
the tight ends, you're forgetting about the tight ends.
Yeah. That's some good tight ends, Hunter Henry and Johnny Smith. But I'm more of a believer in Mac longer term than I am Zach Wilson, honestly. I'm not going to end up with him anywhere because I'm just not a believer.
That's a little spicy to me.
Maybe a little, but I think I'd take Zach Wilson over Mac Jones. I saw you arguing with Dynasty Coach today on Twitter about that, and he had a good point, and you kind of mentioned it too. I mean, look who Zach Wilson's throwing to, and he'll be starting day one, and we can't really guarantee that with Mac Jones. So
yeah. We'll see, though. Like, Zach Wilson's weapons are better than Mac Jones. There's no doubt about that. But let's not act like it's these incredible receivers he's throwing to.
Yeah.
And Corey Davis was nothing in Tennessee until A.J. Brown showed up, and he had one decent season.
I agree.
Denzel Mims hasn't done anything yet, really. Elijah Moore is a rookie, and then you have Jamison Crowder, who may not even be there. So
yeah,
it's better, but it's not like they're world beaters out there.
Yeah, they have to kind of prove themselves this year. I mean, we haven't seen much from Mims, and we have to see something from Elijah Moore, and Corey Davis needs to do it again. So I get it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm trying to bring a little heat after Trevin brought up.
I guess so.
So that's my one. I'm not going to have Mac Jones anywhere, I don't think.
So Levi, real quick, what's your top 5 quarterbacks now that the draft is over, or who is your top 5?
I don't remember exactly what I had before the draft, but I don't think it's changed much, if any. I think I have Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Jones, and Wilson.
Trevin?
I think mine ended up being the same too. I had Trevor Lawrence first, the 49ers pick second, Fields, and then Wilson and Mac Jones, I believe, was my list before. So I think I would keep it the same.
That's what mine switched to. Mine cleared up a lot after the draft, and I thought about throwing Fields up at number 2, but I just couldn't do it. Lance's opportunity at San Francisco is pretty nice. So Lance is 2.
I love Fields as a prospect, but it does scare me a little bit, just the inability for Chicago to develop a quarterback in the past.
Yeah.
Brent, here's what you had. You had Lawrence. You had Mac Jones second.
Whoa!
Hey, listen, that was who I thought the 49ers were picking.
You took Zach Wilson third, Trey Lance fourth, and Justin Fields fifth. And so now you said you have Lawrence, Lance.
Okay. Well, first off, I said in the podcast I had Lawrence, and then 2 through 5 were all tie. And then I said after the draft it'll clear it up. But I agreed with Trevin that the 49ers pick was going to be my number 2. And then Fields' opportunity at Chicago. I like that. He's my number 3. And then Zach Wilson. with his upside, I'll put him at number 4, and I think Mac Jones is a safe bet at number 5. I honestly, I like all 5 of their landing spots. I think it worked out pretty good for every quarterback.
The quarterback landing spots were a lot better than the receiver ones, that's for sure. And Trevin, you had Lawrence, the 49ers pick, Fields, Wilson, and then whoever the 49ers don't pick, so Jones.
Yeah,
so
stayed the
same.
same.
And I had Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Jones, and Wilson, so nothing changed for me.
But I would actually change mine now to Lawrence number 1, and the rest all tied for number 2. I'm going to Brent's pre-draft ranking.
You can't do that after the draft.
Yeah, that's my ranking now.
It's only a pre-draft thing there, guys.
Trevin, you got a question of the week for us?
Oh, yeah. So, my question of the week. How many number 1 draft picks have quarterbacked their team to a Super Bowl win?
So, 1 is Eli Manning. It has to be the team that drafted them, or it could be any team?
Any team.
Peyton Manning. So that's 2, right?
That's 2, yep.
How many are there? Or we're trying to guess how many there are?
You're trying to guess how many there are, yeah. Or I can tell you the number 2 if you don't want to guess it, and you can just try to guess the names too. But right now you're guessing how many there are. You have 2 so far.
Was Montana a number 1 pick?
No.
Was Steve Young?
Well, that's one that doesn't count for this number, but he was the first player taken in a supplemental draft because he wasn't in the NFL draft. So I'll give you credit on Steve Young, but that's not one of the numbers that we got here.
Okay.
It's got to be an old quarterback.
What's the oldest one? Like what year? Or what decade, I guess?
70s, I think.
That's when they're drafted?
That's when they were playing. There's nothing like super old. They're all in the common draft era, I guess you'd say.
Was Troy Aikman a first rounder or first pick?
Yes, he was. That's one of them.
All right.
Nice work.
So the first name on the list won the Super Bowl in 1969.
Which would have been like the first Super Bowl ever, right?
We did talk about him.
Bart Starr.
No, we did talk about him during the draft.
Rodgers
live draft show. Nope. You guys are disappointing me, Hill. There, Terry Bradshaw is one of them. So you got the Manning brothers, Aikman, and Bradshaw so far.
And there's
I'll just tell you, there's 3 more.
Holy crap! We're not. You said we're not.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're not missing a newer one, right? Like in the past 25 years.
Yes, you are.
Brett Favre wasn't a number 1 pick, was he?
Nope.
No.
Same era, though. You got one obvious one left. The other 2 are going to be a little harder. Out of the 3, 2 of them were drafted by their teams they won the Super Bowl with. 1 was not, I believe.
Phil Simms.
Nope.
Roethlisberger was
John Elway.
John Elway is 1. Brent's
Why did we forget John Elway?
Here. That was the easy one I was saying. So you got 2 left.
I'm out of guesses.
The Raiders quarterback. Tark?
Yeah. Nope.
Or what? All right, just tell us.
So you got Jim Plunkett.
Okay.
Sorry. That's the Raiders quarterback. The other one is Joe Namath.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. There's 6 number 1 quarterbacks have led their teams to Super Bowl titles, plus Steve Young would be the 7th, but he was taken in the supplemental draft.
Your other question was so much better than that one.
You guys did pretty good. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.
Should we do a beer check before we go?
Absolutely. So I am drinking have you guys seen these bottles of On the Rocks, they're called? They're pre-mixed, kind of fancier drinks.
No, I'm not a fancy boy like you.
Fancy boy. They're pretty cool. I've had one of an old-fashioned, I think I was drinking one on here that Liz got one time, my wife, of Cosmo. But this is a On the Rocks margarita. So all you got to do is pour it on the rocks. And it's day after Cinco de Mayo, so I got my lime and my ice. I'm drinking my margarita on the rocks. They're pretty good, though. If you guys see them, they're only $9 in the store. So you get a full 2 glasses out of them.
Day after Cinco de Mayo, also known as the 6th of May.
Seis de Mayo.
Nailed it.
So yeah, they're pretty good. If you see them at Hy-Vee, I'd get them. There's quite a few options for fancier cocktails that you wouldn't have all the stuff to make it at home. If you're feeling like a fancy boy some night.
The mountains are blue, Brent.
I'm drinking a Coors Light again. Got to finish them off.
Since Brent's slacking, I'll pick it up. I got a Stella.
There you go.
Did you buy a pallet of Stellas? How do you have more Stellas?
Might have.
You should send a picture of your garage. It's just cases of Stella.
Brent will rob me if I do that.
They probably did sponsor us, but Levi's getting all the stuff.
Yeah. Just sending everything to his house. He's drinking it all.
That was the big news this week, other than the Scott Fishbowl. We're also sponsored now, but they sent all to me.
Huh. Well, good. I'm happy for you.
Are you gonna rate your margarita?
I don't know why Gabe has us hating on my margarita, but I like it. It's good. It tastes like a margarita you get at a nice restaurant. So,
and Gabe for the listeners says, I don't know how I hearted this thing, but I wish I could undo it after what Trevin just said, because we are now live streaming all of our shows on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So if you want to hop in with us, we're doing this one Thursday night. It'll be Thursday probably next week too.
You sound like you're promoting a monster truck rally. No, but I don't know. It's a good margarita, so I give it if you're looking for a margarita, you can't do anything better than this at home. I'm going to go 9.5.
9.5 for a margarita in a jar. I don't understand why you think a margarita is so fancy you can't make it at home.
Well, if you're buying the ingredients, it takes a little bit of work, and then you got to blend it and stuff, don't you? How do you make a margarita at home?
You can make margaritas on the rocks. You don't have to blend them. Like your one you're drinking on the rocks?
I guess I've never not blended a margarita at home. You just buy a mix and put tequila in it?
I mean, that's one option.
Or you can just buy this bottle. Sounds pretty easy,
an
huh?
option.
What's your stupid
next
rankings?
time you should do a homemade margarita.
No. One time, Liz, when we just started dating, she was going to make me a margarita, and she blended.
Hey, save that story for a little bit. We'll talk about it. How about that?
All right. That's fine.
All right. Thanks for being part of the Fantasy Players Club, everybody. We'll have a new episode for you next week. Until then, on behalf of Brent Hikus and Trevin Cremosta, this is Levi Valentine wishing you a great week.
See ya.
See ya.
All right, Trevin. Now you can tell your story in the outtakes here.
No, I was just saying, it's pretty early on into dating. Liz is going to make us margaritas at home, and she was going to blend it up, poured the mix in, and poured the vodka in, or tequila in, started the blender, poured the ice in, and then blended it all up, poured them out in glasses, and then she was going to put the mix away and couldn't find the lid for the mix, and it got blended up with the rest of the ingredients. So it just blended up plastic into our margaritas. So we didn't drink those.
You didn't? You
nope.
Coward.
Yeah. There's a full cap. Those are those big plastic caps.
Did you find pieces of plastic in there, or did you just assume there were and you dumped it out?
Yeah, we did. I mean, they're blended up real good. Good blender. I don't know what brand of blender it is, but I'd rate that pretty high. There's just little shards of plastic all in it.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So did you have enough to make more, or did she have to go without margaritas?
No, we had to use the mix at that point. There's no more lid to put back on the mix, so dumped it out and made more.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever done anything like that. You, Brent?
I can honestly say I've never had a margarita before.
What?
Ever?
Ever.
What do you
What's wrong
mean?
with you?
What's wrong with me? I don't know. I just never.
Do you eat at Mexican restaurants?
Yeah, but I don't drink. If I order alcohol there, it's a beer.
You should try
You're
margarita.
shocking me.
Yeah, me too.
I've had tequila shots before.
Have
That's
you ever
not
just
the thing.
seen everybody else drinking margaritas and not even thought maybe I'll try that?
No, I mean I've seen it, but no. My
I
wife has, but
You never tried one of hers?
no.
Why wouldn't you try it? That's crazy.
I don't know. I just never have. I don't know why. I mean, you guys are making me want to try it now, so I'll give it a try next time.
They're good if you get a good one. I mean,
Yeah, I don't look up for them anywhere else besides at Mexican restaurants, but
yeah.
I enjoy drinking them.
When in Rome.
Yeah,
Is there a certain kind I should get?
the house is always good. You can get the strawberry flavored, but usually a house margarita is what I like.
Do you order yours on the rocks or blended? You sissy.
I like mine on the rocks. I'm not a big fan of slushies. Maybe that's my hot take. I'm not a big slushy guy.
I don't know why you. I don't know. I just remember, like in college, I would always, or me and some of the other people I worked with would go and have them at that place, that like grocery store not too far from campus in Lincoln, and drink a few there because they're pretty cheap and they're good, and always get them on the rocks because, well, I don't know why I'd want to. I mean, I guess I wanted to drink them a little faster back then for some reason.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Have you guys got the novelty ones that have the Corona? Brent hasn't because he hasn't had margaritas, but that's a fun thing to do too. Have the Corona. That's what you need to do, Brent, for your first one with your.
No, don't do that for your first one.
With like the Corona stuck in it?
Yeah.
I've seen it.
It's
I like
overrated.
Really?
I'd rather just have a margarita and a beer. Like, why do I want my margarita watered down?
They taste good together.
Taste.
Yeah, I guess.
And then it's the flavor changes too, because at the beginning you're getting mostly margarita, and then at the end it's mostly beer. So it's not like you're getting the same flavor throughout.
Yeah. Another thing I like to do, like if you're kind of settled in for the night, it's not like a date night. You're kind of going out on the town with some friends and stuff, and you go to a Mexican restaurant, and you just get the gigantic margarita, like the 30-some ouncer. That's fun. That's just you really don't care about food at that point, and you're just drinking your gigantic margarita.
Or you just get some pitchers of margaritas.
It's more fun just to get that picture to yourself and just see the work you got to put into it.
Yeah. I guess I don't know, Brent, what your comfort level with eating out and stuff is at this point, but next time you go to a Mexican restaurant, order a margarita. Like, I think that's where it's best because you get the full ambiance.
Yeah.
It pairs well with the food.
Another trick I've got to margaritas is sugar on the rim. I'm not a salt guy.
I like the salt.
I like the sugar on the rim. Know what we're talking about, Brent?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I just can't believe you've seen it this many times and you've never thought you'd just want to try it.
Well,
it's not they're expensive. They're like $2 sometimes.
I just never. I mean,
where are you going to get $2 margaritas?
Sometimes they have like specials, and they're like the smaller cups. It's not you're not going to get a big one, but sometimes they advertise like $2 margaritas.
Man, I need to get out of the city. Not a lot of $2 margaritas in my neck of the woods here.
I'm excited for Brent to try it.
Yeah, well, Brent, you'll have to take a video first time you try one. We can post it of Brent's first margarita.
All right, I will.
At some point, we got to take this show on the road, and we got to sit down and have a meal together. And we're going to go to a Mexican restaurant and drink some gigantic margaritas.
And then Brent's going to jump through a table.
Yeah, I might be jumping through a table after that.
They are good. They're solid, Brent. I don't know why you've never had one, but you should try it.
Okay. We'll do.
Has your wife never? I'm sorry. I know we're on this topic too long, but it still just blows my mind. Like your wife's drinking one, and she never said like you should try this.
She's never. I mean, obviously, she doesn't like it that much because she doesn't have it very often. But I don't know. I just never been. I mean, I like to drink my beer. I just never thought about switching to like a margarita. I mean, if I'm going to switch to something else besides beer, it's gin and tonic, and that's it. I'm pretty stubborn in my ways, so
Yeah.
I do think Mexican restaurants are the places. That's probably the type of restaurant I would say I'm most likely to get a beer or some sort of alcoholic drink at when I'm eating.
And
if I go out to eat at a sit-down place, most of the time I don't get an alcoholic drink. But Mexican place, I don't know if it's the mood or what. But
what's kind of weird about it is I love Mexican restaurants, and that's probably where we go the most too.
This is shocking. More shocking the more you talk.
Would you guys agree on my take on the Mexican restaurants are the best to drink at?
I would agree, but I still usually get a beer at like if you go to Applebee's. I mean, I don't know do you take? So we got to backtrack a little bit. Do you eat out much without your kids? Is it just you and your wife if you go somewhere?
I mean, it's hard to say because we haven't really went to
Yeah,
a sit-down
that's
restaurant
true.
over a year now
Yeah.
since we had the youngest one. So
Yeah.
I'd say not like regularly, but once in a while.
So even if it's just you and your wife, you're still, if it's not a Mexican restaurant, you don't usually drink any type of alcohol at the restaurant? Because I guess I usually just order a beer.
Yeah, sometimes I will, but I would say my percentage is highest at Mexican restaurants of ordering a beer or a drink.
Yeah, I guess any restaurant I usually just order a beer. I mean, it's not like we're going to. If it is like a steakhouse, then I'll get a glass of wine usually. But if it's like Applebee's, I'll usually get some type of beer.
A glass of wine.
Same with me.
At a steakhouse.
You gotta drink wine with the steak. What are you scoffing me for?
Why do you have to drink wine with the steak?
That's the thing to do. It pairs well.
Oh my god! Yeah, I'm sure all the farmers drink wine with their steak out there.
Well, I'm not cooking it on an open flame in my backyard. I'm at a nice steakhouse.
I just get a beer probably with a steak, but whatever works for you, pal.
That's listen to you two. You guys gotta live a little.
I'm not a wine guy. It doesn't
Try it
really
with
matter.
a steak. It's good with a
like,
steak.
well, wine's what you order like an Italian restaurant.
No.
You get
No.
beer there.
Yeah, I usually just get a beer there.
You're doing it totally bad.
What kind of wine you drinking with pasta?
I don't know, but what Italian restaurants always have the huge wine selections.
Yeah, I mean, don't you go to Olive Garden? They offer you like the house wine or something for the night. So, I mean, that's what I think of Italian restaurants.
Fellas, I'm not talking about Olive Garden drinking house wine. If you're at a nice steak restaurant, you got to get a glass of red wine with it.
I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm just saying I wouldn't do that. And I'm saying I think of wine more with Italian food. That's all.
Yeah, same with me. I'm just trying to think of the steakhouses here in Grand Island. I don't even know if they even offer wine there.
They definitely offer it. But
not Texas T-bone. I'm talking about like
That's
nice
what I'm
steakhouses. I know it is. That's why I said that. No, we went to a nice steakhouse for your kind of bachelor party, Levi.
yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
something like that. That's where you get like a nice glass of wine.
If you're a woman.
Not a chain restaurant like Texas T-bone.
I don't know. I don't know why you think wine and steak, but
I'm telling you, it pairs well.
Do you get a red or a white?
You gotta go red with the steak. You only get white with the fish, and sometimes pasta.
And sometimes pasta.
And I will say, the older I get, the more wine I've been drinking. So maybe I'll give that a try too, Trevin. You guys make me try new things here.
I'll drink if I'm cooking a nice steak at my house too. I'll drink a bottle of wine.
I feel like when you grow up, you'll probably start ordering like bourbon or something at your steakhouse, Trevin.
I don't think so. That'd be a little rough for a steak.
Just not with your meal, just when you're at the steakhouse. Like maybe after your meal instead.
Yeah.
All right, we done here?
I don't know. We're just talking about food now. I'd keep going if you guys want to keep going.
I mean,
I think the difference here is really the kids deal. I don't think it's really as easy for you guys to go out is my thoughts here.
But it's not like you're drinking 5 or 6 drinks and getting loaded when you go out to dinner with.
No. It's just
so. I don't think the kids matter that much.
I just think it gives me more opportunity to try different places and try different things for as far as like eating out and stuff, and not anything against. I'm not saying you guys are wrong on your lifestyles or whatever. It's just harder.
No, yeah, that's fair.
So I think that's the main difference here.
Yeah.
Brent disagrees.
Dual income with no kids, you have more disposable income to spend at these sit-down restaurants. So.
And I don't even know if that's part. I mean, I know you guys both have good jobs. I know. I'm just saying. I think it's more of just the time. It's easier if Liz and I on a Friday night at 7:00 decide we want to go to a restaurant. It doesn't take a whole lot of planning. Right. We can just go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
And I mean, when they get older, like my kids, I mean, it's easier too. So we're like, hey, we're gonna go out to eat. You want to come with? And they're usually like probably no most of the time, and so unless we make them, so it gets easier when they get older too. So, but with Levi's situation, that's got to be pretty tough.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem with that is we're always ordering stuff to go if we're sitting down and eating too for the kids.
You're nice.
No, we don't do it all the time. And it's like horrible food, like chicken strips and fries or something. We can go to a fancy restaurant, get some mac and cheese and some chicken strips. I'm like, ugh. Darn teenagers, man.
Yeah. I'd just be happy if
now we're on the kids talk.
Bed at night now.
They're not going to bed
lately. Oh, Carson wants to be rocked 2 or 3 times a night, and Owen wants to stay up and watch TV until it's time for bed, and then jack around the whole time and throw a fit because he's so tired by the time he's ready to go. By the time we tell him it's time to go to bed, so it's gonna be boot camp over here for the next couple weeks.
What's he watch? His cartoon show till he doesn't ever want to go to bed?
Blippy, yeah.
Oh, Blippy.
Your favorite.
Yeah. Cool internet guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of stuff. So we done.
Yeah.
All right, Brad, I'll send you the file, and you can probably chop off some of the end part.
Okay.
Thanks, Brent.
Yep. Thanks, Brent. Good talking to you guys.
Problem.
Yeah, me too. See ya.
See ya.